GLA Mission 3 but Deathless. So for this one we can't lose any units. I can only use the 14 rebels given to me throughout the mission, and all other units must be moved out of harm's way. So for this one we're going to move our rocket troops and hijackers to go inside the technicals. Doing that is going to save on some space inside the tunnels that we use. Now with the 8 rebels we're going to move those guys over to another tunnel network that's next to a particle cannon. So when we get close enough, it's going to spawn out another 6 rebels along with a hijacker. Now with the hijacker, because the hijacker is stealthy, we can move that guy next to the particle cannon, so we don't have to worry about him being in harm's way now. Now, the tunnel network, we're just going to use the tunnel network to destroy the missile defenders and the rangers. There is no rule against that, so we're just fine. Now, we don't have to worry about getting EXP with the rebels just yet, because we can get the EXP from the scraps as well as the Crusader tanks. We can also get the EXP from the rangers that try and recapture the particle cannon, because they're going to be distracted. So there's a lot of different options available to us in terms of getting EXP for our rebels. Now, this isn't the first time I've done a video on GLA Mission 3. This is the second time, and the first time I did this, it was kind of similar method. So some of this is going to be the same if you watched the previous video, but overall I'd say like the first half is the same and the second half is pretty different. So right now just getting the scraps with our rebel there, getting the hijacker inside a technical, that way we save on some space inside the tunnel network. And just like that, we've pretty much cleared out that section. So now that we've cleared out the first island, we're going to move on to the second island. We're going to circle around these rocks here, so then we can basically cut off the path of the Tomahawk here, because they're going to make their way over to the Crusader tanks. So if we can take out the Tomahawk, that's extra EXP. I did try and go for the pilot as well, but I just didn't quite have enough range to finish the job. So that's fine, he's going to get away, but we can go for these scraps as well and get some more EXP or cash. Really just want the EXP here because we're not spending a lot of cash. Just really getting the fortified structures upgrade and the camouflage upgrade for our rebels later on. Those are the only ones that are really relevant to this mission. Now what we're doing, this is different to the first video I did, is I'm luring the Crusaders to the north and basically drawing them out so then I can shoot these guys first. So that's the first main difference. Normally I would have gone for the Crusader tanks at the barracks and the palace, but doing this, it just means I can save on a little bit of time, because there's going to be raptors that will go after the first tunnel network that's next to the particle cannon. So I want to try and destroy all the Crusader tanks, and I want to get these rebels back to my particle cannon so then I can defend it against the rangers that try and recapture it. So I'm not exactly 100% sure on this, but it seems that the Raptors and the Ranger Paradrop will trigger around the 6 to 6.5 minute mark. So it doesn't matter if I take out the 3 Crusader tanks that are at the barracks or not, because originally I thought that the Raptors and Ranger Paradrop would trigger after taking out those 3 tanks. I don't think that's the case though. So pretty much all I have to do now is get my rebels healed up at my tunnel network and then go after the 3 Crusaders for more EXP and then get back to the particle cannon. Now, I don't have to take out the 3 Crusader tanks at this point. I could just remain at the particle cannon to defend it against the Ranger Paradrop, but I figure I still have another minute or so before they get there, so I can at least do some damage before they arrive. Now, I did use my sneak attack on a small island with scraps and a cash crate, so we're going to use 1 rebel to get those. Just going to par them just like that. If he gets the Vet 3, great. If not, then yeah, it just means I have to do a bit more work in destroying the Crusaders and the Ranger Paradrops. So, got pretty close to losing a rebel there. That's the thing, even if it's like 2 Crusaders, if they take enough shots, they will eventually get there. And 1 more, and now we've got access to the barracks and the palace, and we do have access to Jarman Kell, and Jarman Kell, we're just going to throw him back inside the tunnel at some point, but because he's stealthy, he's not really going to be in harm's way, or he's not going to be destroying any units as well, so I'm still within the rules there. Now we're going to get our rebels to go back to the particle cannon. Now that that's out of the way, we can get Jarman Kell to go inside the tunnel. So for anyone wondering, I chose not to get the scraps from those 3 Crusader tanks because I really just wanted to get back to the particle cannon in time for the Ranger Paradrop. Now the scraps in this mission, they don't actually fade away like in skirmishes or generals challenges, and I also decided to get my vehicles outside the tunnel and basically just reorganize things. That way I could see, you know, the green and the blue icons for the tunnel. Now we got our Ranger Paradrop here. Here comes the Raptors, and they've taken out our tunnel network. That's inevitable. There's no way around that. So they're distracted right now by my tunnel network as well as the capture of the particle cannon, and we're just going to take the time to take out as many Rangers as we can. And we don't actually want to destroy all the Rangers. What I want to do is I want to keep one intact so then he can capture the particle cannon. Now the US has control over the power plants, so by the Ranger capturing the particle cannon, it means that the timer is going to tick down. But the particle cannon here doesn't actually fire. It only fires when you fire it. So the particle cannon will tick down to 0, and then once we've got access to power plants, we can recapture the particle cannon, and then we can actually fire it just like that. So at this point, we're going to keep the majority of our rebels at the particle cannon. We're going to have one that's going to collect all the scraps that are on the ground to try and vet up, and the other two are going to go after the fire bases and the power plants at this first US mini base here. Now, one thing I do want to explain, with the tunnel networks, there was actually a reason why I placed Jarman Kell inside the tunnel as he is and not inside one of the technicals. So this is very weird in this mission. It seems that if the Raptors destroy the tunnel network that was next to the particle cannon and you just have vehicles inside the tunnel, your vehicles will actually disappear from the tunnel network. So it's very weird, but it seems that if you have an infantry type unit inside the tunnel network alongside the vehicles, then you can still retain all of the units that are inside the tunnel network. So I figured I'd let you know that, like in case any of you were wondering, okay, why didn't he pop out with the technical to put, you know, Jarman Kell inside to save on space? That's why. So for this next section, we're going to move one rebel to a certain spot, and he's going to be able to take out the Rangers and the missile defenders without them shooting back. And because of that, we can also take out this fencing here, and then we can move in on the firebase, take out the last missile defender, take out the firebase, and after the firebase is destroyed, we can move our rebel back behind this power plant here. That way we can avoid any fire from another firebase. Now we can capture the artillery platform, and with the artillery platform, we can force fire just next to this firebase here, and then eventually it will get destroyed, and then we can target the other firebase too. So just doing a head count of all our rebels, everyone's still alive. The particle cannon has ticked down to 0. We are going to capture these 2 power plants as well. Now with the power plants, I find that if you hotkey the power plants to number 1 and number 2, you can select each one and then press the J key to sell off without having to, you know, select the building or the unit to do whatever action you want. Now I'm going to go on for the capture on the particle cannon, and same as before, we're going to destroy the strategy center and move that along to destroy one of the airfields, and then sneak attack as well nearby, and then we can pop out with our rebels too. So once I got control over my sneak attack, I realized, whoops, I forgot to put my rebels inside. So I got 2 rebels to go inside the sneak attack. Now I still had enough time to pop out with these rebels. Normally I would have gotten the 2 weakest rebels that I had to pop out at the US base. That way I can keep my strongest rebels at the particle cannon to pick off these Rangers more easily and try and damage my particle cannon or go for the recapture. Now I got 2 Comanches that are attacking my tunnel networks as well as my sneak attacks, so I have a limited amount of time here to take out these Rangers before they get to my rebels. So we're going to do as much as we can. Even if it's like a few Rangers remaining, that's still going to be a good result because I've still got a bunch of these rebels that can easily pick them off. I decided 3 Rangers left is pretty good. I can retreat, and we took a little bit of damage to one of our rebels, but he's got self-healing now, so that's okay. Now these Comanches, they're going to go around the map destroying all of my things, destroying my artillery platform, all my sneak attacks. My rebels are fine because they're stealthy, and as you can see, I've got no units inside my tunnel network, so I am going to do like an intermission in this video, so I have got it all chaptered out and I can explain what I would have done had I not kept my units inside the tunnel. So I mentioned earlier that the tunnel networks in this mission function a little bit weird. So when the Comanches destroyed the tunnel network, not the sneak attack, the tunnel network, it meant that all my units, the technicals and Jarman Kell and the quad cannon, they all disappeared from the tunnel networks. So normally when it comes to sneak attacks and tunnel networks, even if you've just got one sneak attack left on the battlefield, it will still retain all of the units that are supposed to be inside that tunnel. So it's very weird in that sense, but I didn't actually take a death. That's the thing, is that if you do lose all the units that are retained inside the tunnels, it doesn't count as units lost. So like I said, I'm going to do an intermission where I explain what would I have done if I didn't keep those units inside the tunnel. So the main reason why I'm doing an intermission here is because I think that people in the comments will be like, nah, you cheated, this shouldn't count, please do it again, you know, something to that effect. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back into GLA 3, so we're at the point where we're capturing the power plants and we're just about to capture the particle cannon, because that's when things really start to happen here. So I've got 3 technicals all grouped together, quad cannon, at the sneak attacks as well. So pretty much everything is playing out pretty normally. The timer has gone a little bit longer because we've used up the sneak attack more times. So this is basically me demonstrating that it's still possible even with those units outside the tunnel. It just takes a little bit longer because I need to use more sneak attacks to basically protect those vehicles that I have out. So particle cannon on the strategy center and the airfield once again. This time round I do have the rebels inside the sneak attack, so then I can pop out, and they're unvetted, so that's what I normally would have done. In this case though, my rebels were all looking pretty good. Most of them were vet 2 and vet 3. Here come the raptors, so they're going to do heavy damage to the particle cannon, and the rangers, they'll also do a little bit of damage, but rebels are going to pick them off. Now here's the thing, I moved my technicals because the A-10s are going to go for them because they're the most valuable thing I have. All those rocket troops, the hijackers, Jarman Kell, all inside those technicals, they're the most valuable thing. So we move those guys away. Now I've got 3 sneak attacks next to my quad cannon, and they're going to serve as shields. So eventually the Comanches are going to pick off all my other buildings, but my quad cannon is going to be able to safely shoot down those Comanches because they're going to be so focused on shooting the sneak attacks. So now all I have to do is just wait on the Comanches to take out all my buildings, and then go over to where my quad cannon is with all the other sneak attacks, and then the quad cannon is just going to do all the work. Now even if those Comanches are vet 2 or vet 3, my quad cannon, who's unvetted, is still going to be able to do the job because I've still got all those sneak attacks to buy me enough time. So once the quad cannon takes out one Comanche, we get a vet 2, then a vet 3. So any future Comanche attacks are going to be easily squashed, and we can set up more sneak attacks next to the quad cannon to serve as shields. So I hope you understand that even if we had the vehicles inside or outside the tunnel, we still would have gotten their Deathless anyway. It's just having the vehicles outside the tunnel would have meant me using up more sneak attacks, which meant me wasting more time and just longer video, lots of speed ups, etc. So right now what we're doing is, well, speeding up the video because we're waiting on the particle cannon to tick down to 0 so then we can capture it and then use it. But we also got to capture 2 more power plants. I'm only capturing 2 power plants at a time here. I don't need to worry about taking the USA offline like I did in the last video. I basically destroyed most of the power plants that were on this map. And I'm also going to use another sneak attack again. That way I can draw out the A10 strike. So that's the thing, because I had the technicals in the mission. That was an easy way to bait out the A10s. It's not as easy doing it with just rebels and sneak attacks. So I'm going to use the particle cannon on the Patriots. So that's the alternative to taking the USA offline. It's just me using the particle cannon to destroy whatever obstacles are in my rebels' way. So because I used the particle cannon, it means there's going to be another A10 strike along with a Ranger Paradrop. So I chose to move my rebels away from where they were because I thought they'd be the target of the A10 strike. But I moved out a little bit too far because it triggered 4 Rangers that were patrolling the shore. And I moved back and almost took a hit by those A10. So I was kind of in shock here because I'm like, oh my god, I survived that. So I didn't even realize that those patrolling Rangers were mixed in with my rebels here. So I almost took a death from an A10 strike, and I almost took a death from Rangers too. But luckily we were able to avoid all of that, and I can now focus on the Rangers that are trying to capture the particle cannon again. So just like before, I want the Rangers to recapture the particle cannon, so then the timer ticks back down to 0, and then I can capture it, and then capture a couple of power plants, and then use the particle cannon again. So, besides the A-10 strike and the Rangers mixing in, we survived. And this is me doing a head count, so I'm like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, just like, is everyone good? And I was like, 2 there, 2 there. I was like, okay, everyone's alive, we're good. So yeah, I was still a little bit shocked even after the fact. Going back to my 2 rebels at the US base, those guys are going to move down south, so then we can inch our way closer to where this aircraft carrier is. Now, I don't think I needed to do this, but I ended up using a sneak attack next to another sneak attack, because I was thinking, if I've got to use the particle cannon again, so then I can inch my way closer to that carrier, then I'll have those 2 sneak attacks together to then take the hit from the A-10 strike that's going to come. So with our 2 rebels, I'm going to move one to the command center, roughly, and the other one is actually going to hang around one of the barracks. So I don't want to move them any closer because it's going to trigger those Patriots, which will detect them, and then everyone else will shoot them down. So I just wanted to reveal those 2 Patriots, the one next to the war factory and the one near the supply center. So when the timer ticks down to 0, I can capture 2 more power plants, and then if I want, I can use the particle cannon to hit those 2 Patriots, meaning then I can get my rebels to move to the spot where we would need to fire the particle cannon on the aircraft carrier. So that's method 1. There is a second method though. So I went with the second method, which is actually the faster method. So with the second method, we need to wait on our next sneak attack to be ready, which is another reason why I said the sneak attack next to the sneak attack might not have been necessary. So with this method, we're going to have a rebel inside the tunnel, so then we can pop out. But what we're going to do is we're going to use our sneak attack at the US base. So this is a lot riskier compared to the first method. So we're going to pop out our 1 rebel, and because they're so close to the Patriot, they're going to be able to get detected by them. But I was lucky here because the US forces didn't get triggered into attacking my rebel, and I was able to get the ending cutscene just in time. And with that, that is how I did GLA Mission 3 Deathless with 14 rebels and keeping all the other units out of harm's way inside the tunnel networks. Now, if you think I should do this mission again, but keeping the vehicles outside the tunnel networks, we can do that, let me know. And if you enjoyed this one, leave a like, comment, subscribe. I do have a playlist if you want to check out any of my other content. I'm Crackler, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!